douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics, yo. douglAR politics. Listen, douglAR politics, yeah. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics, yeah. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics. douglAR politics. This is douglAR politics, yo. douglAR politics.
Good evening and welcome to douglAR Politics. Well, the tennis world is saying goodbye. Archie, you could put it up to two of the arguably the greatest of all time. Serena is the GOAT. With all due respect to Miss Court, who played back in the day when tennis was not in the open era. She played a little bit in the open era, but tennis was more of a wealthy elitist sport. Serena has done more for tennis, equal pay, equality rights, prime time tennis for the Women's Tennis Association, the Women's Tennis ATP Tour, than any other human being. Her titles, her Grand Slams, her victories, amazing. Roger Federer is in an argument with Djokovic, Nadal, for who is the greatest of all time. That is a good, solid debate, but one cannot argue that Federer was the classiest tennis player and athlete in history. A man who carried himself on and off the court with impeccable, amazing quality. So tennis says goodbye to these two greats, but you always know when a sport is in good hands, because as Serena steps away, you have Swiatek and Coco Gauff and 8 or 9 young, vibrant, brilliant, exciting players coming up. And as Federer steps away, Nadal is winding down, Djokovic a few more years, you have young 19-year-old Carlos Alcaraz, you have 23-year-old, 22-year-old Ruud, you have some young boys, you have Tiofe from the USA coming up. That's when a sport has succession planning, when you can lose greatness like that and not skip a beat. That augurs well for the sport, for the sponsors, for the tournaments. Fantastic. So as we say goodbye to an era, it's kind of sad, though. I mean, think about all the hours of brilliance that we enjoyed from these two. Well, but tennis is in good hands. What's not in good hands is the PNM government. Oh Lord, put on Federer and Serena, don't let me involve them with the PNM and Amory Brown. That would not be right. The Newsday, what all you have with Amory Brown? Every time you go to Parliament and he put on something, or they just put 2-3 pictures of him. What you trying to tell us? What you trying to subliminally send to the population and to the electorate? This is a front page. He and the Venezuelan ambassador eating each other cake. Look, Newsday. We need water, please, Wassa. Antonia Alfonso. For the past 4 months, Upper North Post Road, Diego Martin, has not received consistent water supply. I've been requesting truck-borne water from Wassa for the past 4 months, and every time I call, I get a reference number. I've received approximately 8 reference numbers in the past 4 months. I've received water once and only because I saw the truck on the hill and begged the persons on the truck to please bring me some water. That is the norm in Trinidad and Tobago. And Diego Martin is the constituency of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. Wassa, day 4, still no water. Call once again, ordered water, and nothing. Had to close school, like our children haven't missed school enough. Pop another one, Archie. Wassa, do you think you can let the people in Diego Martin know how long we will be out of water? Beyond fed up. And then across the whole country, because the Salcott went down. Look at Wassa water. The Salcott that Rowley and Marvin Gonzalez and Shepard and Nanga tried to attack. Lie on the price per cubic meter, lie on the information, lied on the usage, lied on the profitability, lied on the Salcott's attitude towards the government, lied on everything. The Salcott had to go down for maintenance work, they had to fix a leak. Look what Wassa gave people.
This is the color and the condition of the water that they're sending for people to use. Look at it. Look at it, people. Look at it. Watch it. Watch it here. This is the condition. Water and Sewage Authority. This is what they're sending for people to drink.
So all you take basket from PNM. The Salcott water does come out clean and pure. The Salcott was brought by the UNC in 1999 to provide the energy sector with desalinated water to free up the potable water from Wassa for the people. The PNM has collapsed Wassa. The inefficiency and the incompetence. Understand what is happening. You see that water? Marvin Gonzalez say when you see that water, so you just protest because you're a UNC. So really that water is not too brown in Marvin Gonzalez's eyes. Watch more water wasting down in Chagaramas now. This is Rowley constituency. Look at clean, pristine water wasting, gushing. And that was leaking a little bit for about 6 months. It exploded just this weekend here in Rowley's constituency. Where's Rowley? Where's Dr. Rowley? Can you all tell me? Huh? In the last 2.5 months, Rowley, that's in the last how many? In the last 75 days, Rowley has been out of this country at least 49 days. Doing what? Working hard. Look at his constituency. They go Martin Main Road, they just fixed the same leak for the 8th time. They had about 6 backhoe, 4 truck, 12 men for 4 days. They did that already. And they did that 6 more times on top of that. So in the last 3 months on one leak, Wassa must have spent over $4 million to fix one leak. By Wednesday, I would probably tell you it's leaking again. Can the public trust Watson Duke? Guess who wrote this editorial? The Guardian. Can the public trust Duke again? As it was in the beginning, Watson Duke's Progressive Democratic Patriots is once again a party of one. The situation developed yesterday after Duke resigned as Deputy Chief Secretary, as his continuing spat with Tobago House of Assembly Chief Secretary Farley Augustine imploded before those seeking to mend ties between the men could achieve their goal. Quite disturbingly, to those who gave the PDP a mandate to run Tobago's affairs in last December election, Duke instead chose to become another minority member of the THA rather than resolve the issues with his former right-hand man. And so for a man who formed a party with the lofty goal of offering Tobagonians an alternative, Duke will now unfortunately be remembered as the man who squandered massive political support in record time. Can the public trust Duke again? Really, Guardian? So he had a spat with Farley. Rowley, in his career, is Landate Commission of Inquiry, Las Alturas Commission of Inquiry, Renaissance, Email Gate, Calder Heart, Delcy Gate, HDC contract with the Chinese company, buying ferries, shutting down the sea bridge, lying to Tobagonians about Bridgemans. How come you all never, ever? And that's just a few. I have a whole day to go through Rowley, the miscreants, misdeeds. How come, Guardian? How come? How come you never wrote an editorial saying, can the people trust Rowley again? After he took fake pieces of toilet paper into the parliament and lied on a sitting prime minister for an hour and 15 minutes. Things that could not even be emails. Things that could not even enter any cloud. Things that the only thing in the cloud it could be is when you have that white cloud toilet paper. Rowley, the tutu-brain, disgusting liar. How come you didn't write an editorial saying, can Rowley be trusted? A disgusting, dishonest human being? How come? Why, Guardian? I don't understand. Police probing fight in Chaguanas South Secondary. Now this is very scary. And as soon George Bovell's father always told me, Anil boy, God bless you, it's something. He gave me a book called Blink, which is that when I watching sports or watching anything, I see things very quickly. So thank the Lord for that gift. As soon as I saw this video, immediately, I knew that when the girl had fallen down, there was one big rock, one big concrete block, right where she fell and hit her head, and none of those children could have seen. This video could have come out much worse. This girl could have died in our schools, our nation's schools. Run it, Archie.
I want the sheep.
No, you got because she like that, you man.
What about the sheep?
No, we didn't edit out the cussing. That's what's going on in our nation's school. Did you see that? And the children around there, so worthless, so enjoying the stupidity. They didn't even know what happened to the child. They didn't even know that child could have died. It looked like nothing big, and the child who pulled her down could have been in jail for a long time. That's what's going on in our education system. And many children are not even in the education system because they fail in SEA. 900 a year getting 0 in SEA. 9,000 get less than 50%. 4,000 get less than 30%. Those at least in school. And look at what is going on under the PNM education system. But the minister is arguing with MSJ about, put up man, about who bringing e-books, who brought the idea for e-books. 2 days after announcing it's making efforts to create an e-book platform, the Education Ministry is making it clear that this was one of its ideas since 2021. Well, Vishnu Kun and all the digital transformation and all the companies involved with technology back in 2021, you all got that bright idea. Archie, put up a picture of somebody who had that idea since 2010 and was implementing it now. I wonder who that could be, because these here fighting up in 2021 to know about e-book platform. Archie, who is that? Put up the lady who in 2010 came out and had all of that ready and beginning to lay out plan after plan, from laptop to tablet to oh my goodness. Yeah. Yes, and we have Tim Goopeesingh coming up later. Yes, Archie. So, you understand? But look, you see why they have to bad talk the UNC? They have to bad talk Kamala. They have to lie on the UNC. They have to email gate. They have to concoct. They have to control institutions. They have to control the parliament. They have to control the police. They have to control everything. They have to control the independent senators. They have to control the president. Because on pure performance, these people put back the other one, put back bundles, and man fighting for that in the cabinet, you know, put back bundles. Let me see what Rowley and Foster Cummins fighting for. Oh God, hey, them fighting to say that an e-book platform is them idea in 2021. Elections have consequences. This is not funny. This is Bundles, the Minister of Education. Welcome initiative from Education Ministry. Welcome initiative from the education. I'll give you all a guess which editorial I'm going to read from. The Guardian. Let's read The Guardian. What they're trying to shove down our throats, even though our eyes and ears are open. Let's read from The Guardian, this bastion of journalistic integrity, this piece of toilet paper called The Guardian. Let's read it, you know. Guardian Opinion, page 12, Thursday, September 15th. Welcome initiative from the Education Ministry. School textbooks are not cheap, and with new editions often being published merely to correct typos or include new material, sometimes students have no other choice but to buy new books at full price instead of purchasing less costly second-hand ones. The purchase of school textbooks is a major financial commitment many parents and guardians are faced with annually during the July to August vacation period as they prepare for the new term. It is therefore heartening to hear that there may be some financial reprieve being offered to parents and guardians for next academic year. Tim Goopeesingh and Kamala had textbooks, 133 million per year, every year, giving the children, buying textbooks, actual policy, actually implemented, cabinet note, Ministry of Finance, allocated resources, vote, go on and fill it up in the Ministry of Education, books purchased, given out and distributed. You never hear the Guardian say, well done Tim, well done Kamala, well done UNC. Hear what they write, I cannot make this up. It is therefore heartening, says the Guardian, to hear that there may be some financial reprieve offered to parents and guardians next year. And you all wonder why our democracy is lost? Do I need to convince you all that these PNM neophytes, these disgusting, dishonest, corrupt mass media, has you all confused out there? Tim Goopeesingh and Kamala gave over a 5-year and 5-month period over $700 million worth of taxpayers' dollars to textbooks to the children. Actually gave them. They read, they studied, they passed exams. The Guardian never said, well done Tim, well done Kamala. They hear that something might happen next year and they sit down and pen an editorial to say great is the PNM. I don't know what to tell all you again. If y'all are not sick of that, if you as an independent minded citizen does not find that corrupt and offensive, well, I can't help you. And then in our schools, we done show Faris Al-Rawi, Johnny Sukaran school presentation college looking like Maracas waterfall during a rainstorm. Check we schools now. Check we schools under PNM. This is where we children here, man, go and sit down and study. Be bright. Look at that. This is maintenance. This is drainage. This is, look at it. Look at it. The teacher's cars nearly floating away from a little rain, That is what the PNM does. Everything shut down. Nothing. Children done out of school long. They have no technology, no smart board, no smart classroom. The Minister of Education gone to a private school created and designed by the Hindu community with help from Indian funding and say it's so brilliant and amazing and she's happy to see education. She in charge of education. Look at what she in charge of. Our children in a set of old, dilapidated, archaic, nonsensical situations that do not encourage higher learning, speedy learning, and a desire to passionately pursue your studies. But she gone by somebody else and say, hey, you're real good. But she in charge of the Ministry of Education. Haiti, fuel price hike. Why I use Haiti? We thank Haiti. We thank Toussaint Louverture. We thank the African slaves of Haiti for fighting and beginning the freedom march because they were the toughest, the strongest, the best of the best. They led all of us out of slavery, and Haiti has been suffering for that from the economic masters for centuries. But when you're looking for intelligence, pride, strength, and leadership, always look at Haiti. Always. Page 21, Regional News Express. Haiti, fuel price hike sets off street protests. Haiti announced steep increases in fuel prices on Wednesday. Despite fears the move would crush an already frail economy, push even more people to flee the country, and unleash the sort of protests that have paralyzed the capital. The government's set price of gallon of gasoline is to increase from 250 goods, $2 to 570 goods, 478, while diesel and so on they go on. The government said prices are rising because it can no longer afford to heavily subsidize fuel hike like it once did. Previously, Haiti received all its petroleum from Venezuela. I bet you I will come very soon, probably Wednesday or next week Saturday, and read an article for you that the government reverses its policy on Haiti and leaves the subsidy for the fuel. I bet you I read that. I read that to you to show you that we in Trinidad and Tobago, something happened. They drop off the strongest, brightest, baddest, the most adept, skillful, heart and soul, passionate ones. They drop them up north. And what they drop down south here. Because man does take we thing and laugh at we. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. You haven't rioted yet, so they do it 6 times. And they come in again, and they come in again. And we ain't vexed, we ain't do nothing. Only the UNC protest, because the UNC just like to protest. Something not wrong with us. We have to check ourselves. Sando Mayor says, city on road to recovery. Well, you might be on the road to recovery from rehabilitation. I know you had a hard evening when you pull off your shirt bareback to wind down the place. You must be recovering from your hangover. Let me hear what Junior, disgusting, racist comment Regrello about all the people in Princestown drunk because they heard the fireworks and they can't hear the fireworks, but he said it was going to be silent fireworks. Let us see the man who could not spell Ra Shorty I. Let us see this big, and that's his forte, Pan and Calypso and Carnival. That's his qualification. That's his life experience, you know. And the man could not spell the name of the legendary creator of soca music. And that's the man forte. It's not like he is an accountant who tried to put a sign and will make a mistake. He is a carnival man, a pan man, a music man. That he whole life, and he can't spell Ra Shorty I. Elections have consequences. You feel like you could be an Olympic swimming coach and jump in a pool and drum? This one will do that. San Fernando Mayor Junior Regrello says the city was now on the road to recovery after being deeply disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. This, he said, as businesses defied the economic challenges and remained open. So what happened to the 48% that closed? Your big clock. Boy, movie I feel. Oh God, yes, boy. Nah, boy, that water you drink was nice, boy. Clean, pristine, brown Marvin Gonzalez water. Who make your costume? Ecliff Eli, because he dressing Marvin Gonzalez, Marvin Gonzalez, Ecliff, doing good, yeah, fine. You're incompetent, you're dunce, you don't know how to manage a ministry, you're suffering people, the worst minister ever. 14% of people now getting 24/7 supply. The Salcott had to go under repair that you attack and lie on them, and now everybody getting tutu water, but you dressing nicer though. Look like you have a Ecliff Eli finish. I wonder what's that. Y'all going good? Some query president's criticism of MPs, right? Now, I actually put up a picture of Bishnu Raghunath because this is a man who continuously gives his opinion as a political scientist, and about 70% of what he said goes against the United National Congress. When the PNM and Fitzgerald Hines and Camille Robinson Regis make the most disgusting, racist comments, when Keith Rowley abuses politicians and bully pulpit and bullies people, he stays very quiet. But let a UNC say something that might be considered off color. He jumps out to talk. This what is his name? Bishnu Raghunath. And he's the head of something for proper moral politics and all of that. Okay? Now listen to this. I already went through in the last show Paula May Weeks and a hypocritical, nonsensical speech that was, I don't know where, what she drank, what tea she drank that morning, okay? Now, the media called this one for a comment. I'm just going to read what the Newsday put, right? Page 17. I'm going to read it. Raghunath told Newsday he was abroad and had not read the speech. When he read part of the above extracts, he remarked, "I think the comments are fair comments. The question is, how will the politicians accept?" Let me read that again, you know. So Raghunath say he away. Here see the speech, here hear the speech, here read the speech. The Newsday give he some selected extracts and he comment. He commented. He thought he had enough information. He had analyzed, assessed, read, considered enough information to make a comment. Is that not the height of asininity? Let me read. Don't say I make up this, you know. Raghunath told Newsday he was abroad and had not read the speech. Well, if you had not read the speech, then shut up, boy. You have a comment on something that you did not read. You have a comment on something you did not digest. You have a comment on something you didn't analyze. You have a comment on something you didn't study. You have a comment on something you did not see. You have a comment. Are you all serious in this country? So why the sports news people don't call Archie and say, "Archie, did you see the match between the TKR and the Barbados Royals?" Archie said, "No, I was busy with UNC work, boy. I was up in Labre. I went down point 14. I was checking out flooding. I was trying to get hampers. Me and see the match." But Archie, what do you have to say about the match? "Well, I thought they batted well, the pitch played well, the ball looked good, the crowd was brilliant, the music and rhythm section was good." The man has seen nothing, read nothing, but he commenting. And this is what passes for professionalism in Trinidad and Tobago. Let me read it. Don't say the douglAR make this up, you know. Raghunath told Newsday he was abroad and had not read the speech. When he read part of the above extracts, he remarked, "I think the comments are fair comments. The question is, how will the politicians accept it?" You think the comments are fair comments because you are flipping PNM. I went through 57 minutes explaining in detail, word for word, through the speech that I not only listened to, but I read through 3 different times, plus made 16 points and took copious notes to give my opinion on that speech, to show that the position and the comments were unfair, unjustified, and hypocritical. This clown ain't read nothing. Newsday tell him, "Look what she say, look, 2 little sentence here. Oh yes, those are fair comments. You are an idiot. Move him." Rowley boy. Rowley gone. Now when a prime minister travel, and he have special branch, and he have whatever, it's a lot. A first class ticket is a lot of money. And then he takes a small pin, and then they stay in expensive hotels and per diem and transport and so on. Rowley spent about $1 million to go Washington here to be a cheerleader. Yay, me a yay, yay, me a yay, hey, yeah, yay, yay, me a yay, and to take a picture. Watch this clown that is all your vote for that. Watch his face good because he's standing up next to a pink, eh? So he going up there, spend $1 million of your money. Your children have no laptop, have no technology, you're flooding out. Children can't get to school. They pay PTSD bus to take with children to school. They have no uniform, no textbook. He spent $1 million to go and try to squeeze in and photobomb in a picture when nobody needed him or cared about him or wanted him, so to speak. Me and Mom Motley speaking, and he's shaking up his foot like the horny goat weed kicking in. He sitting down and fidget. Why are you fidgeting so, Rowley? You worried about something else? Something else on your mind? You had another meeting somewhere where some people called you in for a second round of questioning. On that note, AA Kwamina, are you in the country? If you are, make a statement tomorrow and say, Anil, I am right here. AA Kwamina, are you in the country? AA Kwamina, the personal attorney of Keith Christopher Rowley. Are you in the country as of now? Yes or no? Have you gone anywhere close to advise your personal client, Keith Christopher Rowley? And if so, what is that advice about? I mean, you don't have to tell us in detail, of course. Attorney, client, oh, but you are the chairman of the board of heritage, so if we were to ask you about what's going on with taxpayer money and so on, you could say, well, I can't divulge that because Rowley is my client. What does Rowley tell you? What was in your meeting? What were your instructions? Oh, no. That's attorney, that falls under attorney-client privilege, isn't that it? More blows for Expo. Trinidad and Tobago, y'all just let people mama guy y'all. Y'all like a man who in a party with his wife, but every time he go in by the bar, he just take an extra 10 minutes. And anything he get to wine on, he wine, so he say he going by the bathroom, but he end up by the food court and he whining on a thing, so he getting cell phone number to the left, so and he wife lying there, and he come back and telling she after she see him whining on each of them. Girl, I had to go outside, you know, the alarm, the car alarm was triggered in my key in the pocket, and I had to go outside and lying straight. And the wife who see him whining, we, the people, we are like her when she say, okay, baby, come, let me take a wine. Because she see with she own eyes the worthless man, but she pretending she is see. Because Rowley and this government have done nothing for agriculture. Anybody who, forget politics, they've done nothing. Check the yellow books, check the budget, check the farmers, check the access roads, they've done nothing. But they come and mama guy you when the Honorable President, Excellency from Guyana coming to do an expo on agriculture and pretend and feign. And I said to PNM, oh, this is so great and this is so good. Okay. Trinidad and Tobago Farmers Union President Shiraz Khan says, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are living under slavery conditions, unable to afford food and basic items. Khan made the comments during a pre-budget virtual discussion. 400 years when we were fighting slavery, today, what? We have a black man treating us as slaves in the country. We lost our jobs. Many people don't have food to eat. Many people don't have a job to go to when the day comes. We are in a form of slavery at this point in time. We are begging one another for food. We are back in the days of slavery, said Khan. He said the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago must get serious and take action. If we don't decide to take action against what they are doing to us, we will have more crime. We will have more hungry people. We will have more starving people. We will have more uneducated people, because if you cannot feed your child right, they cannot study right. And just to give you more data, Dr. Eric Williams in 1981, when he started the school feeding program, provided 51,000 lunches per day. Tim Goopeesingh took that up to a maximum in our history to 76,000 breakfasts and 76,000 lunches per day for our children. The PNM before COVID in 2016 cut that down, and the lady, may she rest in peace, Miss Joycelyn Bodden, who was in charge, would testify to that if she was still alive. But all them PNM get COVID and then tell we are number one in the world. Rowley dropped it from 76,000 meals by 2 per day down to 50,000 meals, down to 48,000 meals before COVID, and then down to 20,000 during COVID. So he used COVID as an excuse not to feed children. That's who you all voted for. And then you wonder why children perform badly. How can a hungry child concentrate on equations, on grammar, on rules, on different issues to take an exam? But Rowley didn't care, and now you all are struggling for editorial editorial pulpit to say that the PNM is trying a good initiative that might happen next year. HR managers were key in the COVID fight, says Principal Medical Officer. Who's that? Abdul Richards? You still there? You're selling rum? What are you doing? People, you are telling us who was key in the COVID fight? We lost the COVID fight, my lady. Are you utilizing too much of your product whole day? We lost the COVID fight. We're one of the worst in the world. Over 4,200 people dead. Our economy shattered. Porous borders. We got every variant. Even we prime minister is the worst in the world. He get COVID 3 times. He ain't going to the hospital though because he's a superhuman. He get COVID 3 times. Well, one time was COVID. All you know, that was Taranji Banji. But this woman talking about people were key to the fight. We lost the fight. You were in charge like Andrew Galota versus Mike Tyson. All you go and Google that fight. 2 rounds of pure pain. Tyson hit that man some cough, so much cough. The 3rd round, he refused to answer the bell. They called the man a coward. I don't agree with that. If all they take them cough from Tyson, all they wasn't answering the bell either. You were in charge with that convent girl, Terrence Dial Singh, over the worst COVID response on the planet. The most money disappear, vaccine never reach. You tell me take CIAO, everybody, 100% of people who were fully vaccinated and dead were the ones who took your CIAO, and you come to talk about COVID-19 like some success story. You cannot be in a fight and lost and say they were key to the fight. You lost the fight. So what you going to say when a man will go out in the ring and get knocked out in 36 seconds? Well, at least he looked good. He had on a pretty trunks. He lost the fight. You lost the fight. You're a total failure and a total goat. And now you come into play, you dress up. That does only work for Rowley. In the UNC and the rest of the country, we admire brilliance, intelligence, planning, work ethic, discipline, creativity, and effective policy. You can't sit down there, 4,200 people dead, and you come to play like we all had a fight. You did good. You lost. Go back and sell more rum. At least Angostura rum is local and creating business and multiplier effect. We could create some jobs. Because everybody just want to drink rum now to try to forget the misery that is the PNM and you. Move China. And as we say that, 182 new cases of COVID and 4 more deaths. Right? 4 more. 4 we was on shutdown, lockdown, broke down and so on. Our borders closed. People couldn't come back home to vote. You had to go by Jelani through a small pin to try and get back in the country. Remember that? At 1 death per week. Now, them celebrating 4 deaths yesterday. All right. SWRHA is still under fire over gauze shortage, and SWRHA, all you're owing nurses money for 2 years. 2 years all you're owing them money and increments and part of the contract. SWRHA, but it's not SWRHA, it's PNM, Convent Girl, PNM, Rowley, PNM. Y'all are owing nurses who put their lives on the line to keep us healthy, to try and save us. And all you can't even pay them what they are owed. You PNM are sick. Convent Girl, you're sick. Abdul Richards, well, you sick. Well, you sick for even being so close to Rowley. Something wrong with you, really and truly. But you and many others. Hey, Bundles, how you going? Donna Cox, how you going? Hey, Judy Raymond, how you going? Hey, Victoria Keys, how you going? SWRH is still under fire, despite assurances from the Southwest Regional Health Authority that there are adequate supplies of gauze, you know, at the San Fernando General Hospital. Members of the public are denying this. So, on top of that, a man had a surgery, open heart surgery, quadruple bypass, or whatever they had to go open heart surgery. They had to cancel the man's surgery because they didn't have the material that you use to stitch up. You see, because when you crack here, it's bone and thing, you know, open. So to close, Can't use no thread and thing. You have to use some metal kind of thing. Them doctors will know, Tim will know. They don't have that in the hospital. So a man who have to have open heart surgery, which means he could dead anytime. Them have to delay the man's surgery to get supplies of things to stitch him up after. And that is PNM. You all want to say vote for that what? Because Anil eat a banana? Pothole. Trade unions condemn PTSC. The Joint Trade Union Federation has joined with the Transport and Industrial Workers Union in condemning the dismissal of the bus driver Ryan Ramdat by the PTSC for giving information to the media. In a media release issued jointly, right, they said they stand in solidarity in raising their voices in strong condemnation over the harsh and oppressive dismissal of Ramdat. Ramdat, who was suspended in February, was terminated last Friday for providing details to a local media house about the poor working conditions bus drivers had to endure, which PTSC deemed to be an act of misconduct. Did you all hear that? In a democracy where we're supposed to have freedom of speech, a public... Huh? Yes, the whistle... Thank you, Archie. Whistleblower has been fired by the PNM, suspended and fired for telling the truth, for trying to get information out there to improve the service given to the people and the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago. The PNM suspend the man and fire the man, and you all coming to talk about democracy? Matt, Media Association of the PNM, what say you about this? Guardian, where's your editorial? Newsday, Express, TV6, CNC3 News. A man gets fired for talking the truth about driving, about buses, people's lives. And the PNM fires that man. And you all coming to say what? Just hide it in an article over there? Boy, pothole protest by Superior Corporation officials. Hear this headline. If y'all don't understand that our democracy is lost and dictatorship is real and the mass media is upholding the dictator that is Rowley, then I cannot help y'all. I'm going to read a headline for y'all. From which newspaper? Guardian, all your starring today. If any of y'all buy this drivel, then you don't like yourselves, you don't like your brain cells, you don't like your family, you don't like your country. Listen to what I'm going to read. Anil is not making this up. I cannot fabricate it. Page 6, News, Thursday, September 15, 2022. Pothole protest by Superior Corporation, UNC, right? Officials. What do you think would be what would you make a headline? Pothole protest by Superior Corporation officials to highlight poor roads, fed up of dilapidated roads, infrastructure degradation. That would be a headline, not so as a fair, because you are driving out there, you know across the whole country the roads have never been this bad. You would have to go back to donkey cart and slave days in the 1700s to have roads so bad. So what do you think this article is? What do you think the headline is? Hear this now. All you ready? If you're drinking coffee, put it down, because you go choke and burn yourself. Pothole protest by Superior Corporation officials angers motorists. So the pothole them, that man could fit in, and car could fall, and tire busting, and rim busting, and brakes mash up, and differential mash up, and you had to buy shocks and things. That not angering the citizens. You know what the Guardian says angering the citizens? That the Superior Corporation and the councillors like Councillor Meru down there in Faizabad and so on, they get fed up and they're protesting because they wrote 40 letters, they beg, they meet, they call, and the Ministry of Local Government is not releasing funds. The Works and Transport Ministry is not fixing the road. So they decide to protest to get the road fixed for the people. The Guardian says, pothole protest by Superior Corporation officials angers motorists. So the protest to highlight the poor roads angers the people, says Guardian, but not the flipping bad road. The bad road and the pothole, anger the people. Guardian, y'all are sick PNM. Disgusting, corrupt media. It is nasty. How all you sleep, boy? Rondon, protest over Matlot landslip. A dig at government. Toko Valencia East Councillor Terry Rondon, you so long in politics, you still a councillor? Terry Rondon, that alone should tell you something wrong with you and the PNM. You as a councillor must be 60 years, Terry Rondon. Boy, better you than me. All you're just happy never to move forward. That's like being alone to swim coach for all your life. Now, if you like that, well, okay. But if you had dreams, you want to be an Olympic coach, you want to move up, right? And you start off at a junior, at age group and so on. And you stay there for 40, 50, 60 years. He said, Terry Rondon is convinced the protest over landslip in Matlot was meant to make the government look bad. Terry Rondon, your government looking bad. Terry Rondon, your government not looking good in anything. Terry Rondon, the roads bad. Terry Rondon, the landslip slipping. Terry Rondon, people villages getting blocked off. Terry Rondon, there's no water. Terry Rondon, there's pothole all over. Terry Rondon, there's no electricity. Terry Rondon, people cannot afford food. Terry Rondon, there's no agricultural policy. Terry Rondon, children are dying. Terry Rondon, man can't get open heart surgery because you have no sutures to stitch them up after. Terry Rondon, there are no Panadol. Terry Rondon, 4,200 people dead of COVID. Terry Rondon, the economy is in shatters. Terry Rondon, sport teams can't get funding. Terry Rondon, in education, they can't get laptops. Children failing. 9,000 children get less than 50%. Terry Rondon, you think somebody need to make you look bad? Terry, all you bad. You're terrible. You're the worst government in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Who could make you look bad? That's like saying, put up bundles there, Archie. That's like somebody saying, somebody make bundles look bad. Nobody makes it look bad. You understand? Yes, and Rowley and Cummins fighting for that. What do you want me to do? Nobody makes you look so. That's how she look. Just like the PNM bad. Nobody can make the PNM look bad. The PNM is bad. Because, look Terry Rondon. Put up that image there, Archie. A man put this up on Facebook and laughed till I get asthma. From Capybara to Cayman. All in road. Except road. From Capybara to Cayman, everything in the road except road. Terry Rondon, that's the people out there. That's what's going on. Nobody trying to make PNM look bad. PNM is bad. They're terrible. They're incompetent. What's this? Papua New Guinea. They had an earthquake. But I don't know, boy. What Richter scale? 7.6 on the Richter scale. Papua New Guinea. And then look Trinidad. 7 years after the PNM, they say, what? Terry Rondon, what I want me to do? Terry Rondon, that's the truth. Nobody is making all the look, but look. Earthquake and all. And the earthquake road looks smoother, Archie. If you really watch it. The earthquake road have smoother portions than the PNM 7-year road. Right? Then we come here. Free advice for the government. Look at the two clowns who gone jet setting. Right? No corporate governance. No permanent secretary. No chairman of board. No CEO. Them going to meet with service providers and goods providers. That's what them going to do. How do we get out of this crisis? Yes, man, put up the two brilliant PNM, man. Oh, God, what's them PNM? Bright and good looking and sharp and creative. Everything going good, eh? How do we get out of this crisis in the energy sector? Well, how you get out of it? Remove these clowns. The crisis was created by these two clowns from since 2016 into 2017 with the Houston negotiation. They're still trying to negotiate, wasting and thieving and stealing and allowing indemnities and instructing boards to waste $233 million on a dead train. That is like all the investment in horny goat weed, Viagra and Cialis for this one. Wasting money in a floppy disk, just wasting. And while he wasting away with that, the other one gone. And them gallivanting around the world, saying they're going to negotiate more. Jerry Brooks, what say you, boy? PNM got your tongue? Why did you resign back in 2017, Jerry Brooks, after that Houston fiasco? Why? Oh, shh. You get a UTC position? Okay, Jerry Brooks. Fireburn the country. Once you good, you clung. 2 children among 6 shot. Leave them 2 up there now. 2 children among 6 shot. It was something out of a horror movie. Express, page 3, Friday 16th September. It was something out of a horror movie. This was how residents of Sangre Grande described the shooting incident on Wednesday night, which led to 6 persons being shot, among them 2 young boys. The incident took place around 10:30 p.m. along Damery Hill. Police said a group of people were there. However, he opened fire. 6 persons, including 2 children aged 3 and 6. Imagine 3 and 6. The only injury you're supposed to get is when you're playing a little football or running on the road or playing cricket. You skin your knee, you stub your toe, you fall down, you might bounce your hand, you get a cut. That's the kind of injury a 3-year-old and 6-year-old supposed to get. But in Trinidad and Tobago, under these 2 idiots, they get bullet. And the other day, 4 weeks ago, in Mova, an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, bullet. And you all think elections don't have consequences? Now let me tell you all a little thing, because it's really sad to see what the media does. There are some story that broke about some member or employee of a company here who got caught in the States for nasty, disgusting pedophile behavior. Similar to the behavior that Rowley received a report on since December 13, 2021, and up to now has not acted upon it in the children's homes that are funded by the PNM government. Children are being abused and buggered and battered and beaten. Well, a man went and do that nastiness outside there. And well, Yankee is not TTPS. Yankee is not DCP Jacob. Yankee is not TOJAM. Yankee is not Police Service Commission appointed by the Bishop's Tea Party lady who Rowley could go and shoo in she ears and she giggle and do a dance to the pan on the Esplanade in Tobago. Yankee hold the nasty man and he will spend the rest of his life in jail. But what I do not like, I don't hold a brief for SM Jalil. I even hear a rumor that them is PNM. I don't know, nor do I care. But SM Jalil is a company. I think they do chubby and so on. I don't even drink chubby. I drink rum and soda. However, the media and social media and some people are trying to push that this has something to do with the company SM Jalil. Why are you doing that? If a man, there's a sick man and he's nasty, and if the company found out in August that he get charged and immediately part ways with him, put out a statement and so on, that's all they could do. What the company, whichever company, it could be SM Jalil today, Answer McCall, it could be Carib, it could be Guardian Media, it could be what the company have to do with that? Why are you all keep saying, I bet you all, you don't even know the man's name, but you know it's SM Jalil. You must not do that, tarnishing people's reputation. So you feel when they went to hire the man came in the interview and say, well, SM Jalil, I have a degree here, I've been experienced here, I want to work marketing or I want to do this, but I like little boys. And I want to go out and take chubby and go and find little boys. You think he said that? You think they could have become aware of it? When they became aware of it, whoever they dealt with it, end of story. So stop the nastiness in this country. And again, I repeat, me and no SM Jalil. And as far as I know, some people saying they support that. However, right is right and wrong is wrong. So stop it. Deal with the individual, the sicko, and let him go up there. And let them boys in orange give him what he like for the rest of his life. Children. A woman robbed in a cemetery under these two. Leave these two. A woman went to a cemetery to pay respects to her dead significant other, and she was robbed while visiting the this is Trinidad and Tobago under Rowley, under Small Pin, under Fitzgerald Hines. Are you all understanding me? That song right? A grieving woman get robbed in a cemetery? Oh Lord, Trinidad and Tobago, get rid of these people, man. Watch this now in Debe. Watch this home invasion and look carefully. And while you're watching it, think about this family. Think about your family. You're in a property that you purchase, you build your house. You're supposed to be safe at home. Your children are screaming. And people, miscreant, lazy, nasty bandits come into your private space and put you in a state of fear, put you in a state of shock, of horror, hearing your children scream while wondering if you're going to die by bullet in your home. I want you all to watch this and then think about if politics is a game. Think about if having an independent police service and a proper police service functioning with a Ministry of National Security which is fighting to keep you safe with CCTV cameras, communication, locking down the borders, effective policing, camera work, deployment, proper vehicles, all of these things, or whether you want a sleepy sativa pumsite wearing donkey as a Minister of National Security. Watch this carefully. And feel it as if it's at your home, and feel how these people must have felt during that time and since then. Run it, Archie. I think you should hear the audio. So put up the audio, Archie. This is people home. This is a man living there now. He ain't sure what's going on. He hear something. Now look. Gun. You have to run. Try and hide. Actually, I'm not hearing the audio. You hear audio? Yeah. Listen to the babies crying. Come. That is, think about if that was your house. That's your space. Your children crying, kicked, abused in your own safe space, while these clowns play games. Because Rowley misbehaved in public office on August 11, 2021, and should be charged by the police, he and Paula May Weeks and Bliss C. Prasad, in order to thwart a merit list and to hand-select a commissioner of police who takes advice from them, who takes instructions from the PNM, who is a PNM, who admits that he listens to Fitzgerald Hines and takes advice on policy and deployment and HR outfitting, who fired 19 human beings but kept his own 2 children working in the police, and the lady who also helped him fire Ram Lagan, she daughter working in the legal department. This man chose his commissioner of police, and that is what we get. They then go and stop legal firearms, so that gentleman cannot even protect. Do you know how emasculating it must feel to have your wife and children in a house, in the family dwelling, and sick, nasty, evil bandits come, and there is nothing as a man you can do, because you're facing down the barrel of 2 guns and you have no gun, because this nasty, stinking liar called Keith, yes, I said that, nasty, stinking liar called Keith Christopher Rowley, who have special branch all up in the K-Pax, special branch all in his house, and in the house, not that he not there now, special branch all around to keep him safe. And he stops you, law-abiding citizens, from applying and getting a firearm to protect your family. Picture that. Imagine you're a man and you cannot protect your wife and your baby's crying, and you all feel politics are a joke. All you say, well, Anil, you went in the ceremony and me and see and talk to none of them. I went upon my suit grudgingly to go in that parliament next to these disgusting, dishonest, incompetent PNM that some of y'all still voting for because they tell you it's about Indian and African. Well, look the video.
Where are we doing? Hey! Hey, where are we doing? Hey! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Just give me only. Go inside. Go inside. Go inside. Come.
Put yourself in that family's shoes. Then would you question whether the government should be removed, whether they should all resign and come out as being total failures? But turn off that data, Archie. Yeah, but nah, man. David Lee get arrested and UNC corrupted. So all the policies, the Children Life Fund, the laptop program, the roads, the Point 14 highway, the sporting stadia, the recreation grounds, the great health facilities and dialysis, the hospitals built, all of that is not good because DCP Jacobs, DCP PNM police arrest and charge David Lee. And correct? That's what the PNM would like you all to think. Well, the UNC is a party of law and order. So David Lee will have his day in court, right? But understand this. And let me ask DCP Tojam, DCP up in Fitzgerald, Ethelbert, Pomsite, Rasta, Hines, K-Pax. What about Faris? What about Faris and the transfer of the car? What about the car that was not transferred? What about the lack of payment of the transfer fee? What about the check that he put in the papers that didn't have a stamp on it and it was not crossed out or nothing like a normal check? What about him not transferring the vehicle? What about that? Anything? What about Rowley? Since we're locking up now, what about Rowley's Form B? Failure to fill out your Form B is a charge in your Integrity in Public Life Act. What about Rowley's Form A that he put the wrong value? He lied about the value of the house in Inez Gate. He put it at the purchase price of 1.2 and he put the value of 1.2 when the value was 1.68. What about the personal benefit he got from a contractor as a sitting prime minister and did not declare it? All of these are charges for clink, clink, clink. What about that? Let's clink. What about the fake oil? What about the fake oil investigation? All it was awaiting was an expert geologist or an expert engineer to for the TTPS to pay to give independent evidence so that charges could be laid. What about that? Are they getting no funds for that? What going on with that? What about Camille and she won 43,000 cash? Where the clinks? 143,000 cash. What about the signing a declaration and lying? It don't charge for that. That's not in the law books. Oh, the law books is only for other people, not PNM. Oh, okay. What about Foster Cummins and Venture Credit Union and MTS? What about the 4.4 million? What about Venture Credit Union accepting a payment from MTS even though Venture Credit Union had done no work for MTS and then facilitated putting the money into a PNM senator and minister account? What about that? What about Foster Cummins and the land? Anything? Any clink? No? What about Keith Christopher Rowley on August 11, 2021? Finding out and getting information that a merit list had arrived at President's house, going to President's house, being allowed in by Paula May Weeks so he could shoo and whisper in her ear rumor and innuendo and cause a public official to breach Section 123(4) of the Constitution, who she then allowed Bliss C. Prasad, another public official, to breach her duty and withdraw a list that was duly signed, sealed, delivered, approved, and handed in, breaching the law and misbehaving in public office. What about clink? Nothing, DCP Jacob. So Lee guilty, boy. So all that the UNC do, all the good policies, that negated, right? But let me also put it this way. DCP Jacobs, isn't this weird? Because you gone, it looks like, and the evidence shows you follow instruction. Actually put up an image of a newspaper article way back when, and let's see if Rowley and Imbert were instructing and telling the population and directing investigations towards David Lee. And is that how police work goes? That politicians direct a police commissioner who them appoint, who would have never be commissioner of police because he's a flipping dunce, and they tell you what they're going to do, and he goes to, is that how it works? Because this is way back. This is way back last year. The Prime Minister also said, when colleagues of the opposition leader bought a vehicle for 2 million and the vehicle gets 1 million in tax exemption and the vehicle is for the use of somebody else, we need to look at exemptions. But Keith Rowley is the Commissioner of Police, he is the investigative officer, he is the prosecutor, he is the DPP, all of that. This is long time, you know. This is 10 months ago. Madam Speaker, I will propose to my colleagues at Cabinet and he talk all of that. Right? It is not the car that the government and all that nonsense. Put the next one now, call me but. So the politicians are instructing DCP Duns who got his job because the politicians misbehave in public office and broke the law to give him his job. And that's what they're doing. Put up the next, call me but. Called on opposition leader Kamla Prasad Bisasa to ask Lee whether he used the tax exemption privileges to purchase in 2019 the most expensive car of all members of parliament, probably in the history of this parliament, Madam Speaker, a 4-liter Mercedes-Benz. Imbert said that Lee had accessed a benefit of 1.4 million in tax and duty, and 4 times of that the benefit accessed by most other MPs. He said Lee hardly ever drove the car to parliament. Wow! So Imbert and Rowley instructing the PNM where to go and what to do and have more information on things that the police are, okay. All right. Excellent. That's amazing. But wait. Archie, I thought in 2015, Rowley with the Emailgate lying self in Parliament and all the lies that he said throughout that period and how he attacked and even became opposition leader, getting Manning out of office. I thought Rowley said in 2015, live spot, Anil, live spot, corruption. Well, Rowley, and you win the election on that. 7 years later, 50 million later, look, Anil still saying that you have a softwood, your horny goat weed, dunce, Oreo clong. Because when you do nothing wrong, there is nothing you could do, Rowley. You could call Kate, you could call Jade, you could call Sharon, you could call Donna, you could call Judy, you could call Rhea, you could call who you want. But I thought, so you really won the election on live spot corruption. But the real thing was David Lee car. Really, Rowley? That's your big move? And you all buy that nonsense and lies put forward to you by Rowley and the media. Look at this picture. A man who killed the K-man. Right? I'm just showing you all again. One law for the citizens and one law for the PNM. Point up, Archie. The man who catch the K-man and kill the K-man and so on, lock up, handcuff, in the back of a police jeep. Okay. So what about Crow? What about Crow? They just celebrate the racist Calypsonian Crow, the nastiest lyrics in the history of Calypso. He turned 70 and Express newspaper and y'all celebrate him as a national hero. The PNM celebrate the racist lyrics of Crow. And Crow boasts that for his birthday, he had 2 iguana and a goatee are waiting for the picture of Crow in handcuff in the back of a police jeep like that gentleman there. You see, when politicians play with police, your democracy is lost. And finally, to you, my people, this is your dictatorship in action. This is the games you play with your country. Watch this video. Watch this clown, Rowley best friend, using racist epithets and celebrating. And he ended up getting from Rowley and Kwamina with no appeal after Deborah Peak said appeal. He get 118 million plus a 10-year contract to dance the dance. Run it, man. This is PNM.
This one is that. This is the Deputy Rowley. And the youthful and technical structure, we call it. I'm celebrating the PNM celebration now. So I just give my love it. Just give my love you, boy. If you're back here, well, you might have been my wife. And Rowley, you doing it. I'm not going to know this girl. Keep going, Rowley. Yeah. I love what you like. Calm down, boy. And today I come out to celebrate the sliding of the PNM candidates. And our PNM people. What is the matter here? Study by what? What's key? What does it? All this when they are also right? But now who do you want to play? Celebrating. Where is the PNM? Where is the PNM?
Of course it's appropriate. I mean, if you have a friend and you hear that, you know, something like that happened to me, you wouldn't ask him, you know, what's this about? I mean, I couldn't wait to call him to find out what all this is about. I mean, and he said he doesn't know, right? Because he's not aware of it, right? So, I mean, if I have a friend and I'm accused in that way and the friend doesn't reach out to me to find out what's going on, I will kind of look at you kind of funny.
His friend who there you hearing it, calling black people by the N-word and calling in East Indian by the C-word. No front page. But a counselor, a black woman, uses inappropriate language. She got angry, but she's a black woman. And anybody knowing the rules of the N-word know that black on black is not a crime with the N-word. We use it. I don't use it. I choose never to use it. That's my choice. But especially American black people, they use it out of deference and so on. I don't agree with it, but that's their choice. Those are the rules. But you newspapers, you blast out about this counselor. But what about Rowley's friend? What about Rowley's friend who's receiving 118 million a 10-year contract? What about Rowley's friend that somehow the investigation just flopped? What about that? They're not that interested. That's the Prime Minister friend. The Prime Minister said that's his friend. When he used the N-word, did the Prime Minister call him and say, hey boy, you like that boy, call me? We're coming to talk more and to explain to you the corrupt nature of the PNM, the mass media, and the loss of democracy in Trinidad and Tobago. None other than one of the most qualified doctors and specialist surgeons in the Caribbean, Dr. Tim Goopeesingh. Good evening, my brother.
Thank you very much, Anil, and good evening to all our viewers and listeners. I will be engaged with Anil on some discussions related to the PNM's constant persecution dating back from since they began the reign of Trinidad and Tobago. And it has been perpetuated from administration to administration by one prime minister to another prime minister. PNM has been constantly persecuting the opposition, and you will remember the persecution of Prime Minister Mr. Basdev Pandey, and they're still persecuting him. You will remember the persecution of the former Chief Justice, Mr. Justice Sat Sharma. And this is in keeping with PNM's approach to governance. When their back is against the wall and they're being knocked out and punched onto the ropes and falling onto the canvas, they try to create some degree of destruction. And this is what they're very famous about, and try to hide their own dirtiness and nastiness and political dictatorship and autocracy by trying to do the things that they did to David recently. You could tell me somebody, I don't want to go into that matter as such, because the courts will have to decide that. But you could tell me that I bought a car and I can't ask somebody to drive it. What prevents me from giving my car to somebody to drive it once my work is going on as a minister or a member of parliament? But that's another situation. But let me go through some of the persecutions and the corruption of PNM since they have started. I always said that PNM invented corruption, they masterminded corruption, and they perfected corruption. And I saw circulating a few weeks ago and a few months ago about the PNM's corruption between 2002 to 2010. And it's about 81 issues that had been documented of 25 billion corruption allegations against the PNM 2002 to 2010. So now in the presence of allegations of corruption against the PNM, and the back is against the wall where people are starving. Just today I passed through about 3 or 4 traffic lights and I saw, it was very saddening to see women putting up placards like this: please help me, I have 3 children and I have 4 children. People are missing meals in Trinidad and Tobago. The recent study showed that 30% of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are missing 1 meal per day. And there is another grouping, about 5%, don't eat for an entire day. This is what they have created in Trinidad and Tobago. But $25 billion of corruption between, this is 2002 to 2010, and another more than 25 billion in 2015 to 2020. Let me deal with some of the issues between 2015 and 2020. When they first came in, they appointed Ernst & Young and PricewaterhouseCoopers to do audits because they want to lock up UNC people. So they spent $30 million on Ernst & Young, another 25 on PricewaterhouseCoopers. 7 years later, both Ernst & Young and PricewaterhouseCoopers cannot find anything against any UNC person so that they could lay a charge. And they lay a charge on poor David. They spent, and then they had another team from the United Kingdom doing private investigation. They spent $40 million on that over 5 years. And when the former commissioner of police refused to have another 40 million spent because people were sitting upstairs the Parliament House, the Parliament, when we were sitting on some floors, they were above us trying to find something to lock up UNC people. 40 million spent, and then another 40 million being spent now again trying to find things that are not there. And this is why they have to resort to what went on yesterday, trying to embarrass people, trying to embarrass the UNC. But as a party, the United National Congress is 32 years strong, and you cannot defeat the United National Congress. You can do whatever you want, Rowley and former Prime Minister Patrick Manning, and even in the days of the others, they could do whatever they want, but they can't keep the United National Congress down. We have Kamla Prasad Bisesal leading the party. We are working together with her, and we will not be daunted by what you are trying to do to this party. Your autocracy and your dictatorship is naked, Keith Rowley. You decided to fire the Commissioner of Police because he's not doing your bidding. Today, I want to ask two independent institutions of the state which were put in by our forefathers in the 1962 Marlborough Conference to safeguard the rights and protection of the rights of citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. And that those two are critically important to maintain human rights and dignity of every citizen. That is the judiciary and the office of the Director of Public Prosecution. Tonight, I ask both institutions to be very careful and be very watchful about this PNM administration and what they will try to do to you all. They will try to suffer you, but you have an onerous responsibility, judiciary and the Director of Public Prosecution, to protect the rights and the human rights of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. That is your responsibility. Take a second look of it and do not do the things and the bidding of the People's National Movement and Rowley. This is what they're about. And I can go on, Anil. So beside that, they have the corruption issues, the Manzanilla Highway of 400 million, the San Fernando waterfront of 500 million, the fake oil, 100 million. Imagine Rowley closed down the whole of Petrotrin worth billions of dollars because he wants to save his partner. He wants to get rid of the evidence in Petrotrin that was there. So when you close down Petrotrin, you destroy all the evidence. So what you're getting nothing at it. 100 million in fake oil, but that must have been recurring over a number of years, and that would have been unearthed. You fired 7,500 workers from Petrotrin, and thousands of lives have been destroyed as a result of the Petrotrin closure to save your friend. We will hear more about what is happening in San Francisco with some home or something, but that will come up later. Then the Cabo Star mobilization fee of 13 million, the Ocean Flower mobilization fee of 20 million, the sporting facility at Diego Martin. Anil knows about this without any type of bidding for it. 200 million spent on a sporting facility.
Well, let me also add that to that for you, Tim. That sporting facility in Bagatelle is now closed off to the people of Diego Martin. When I became Minister of Sport, I went and I asked the sport company engineers for a report on that stadium because there had been articles where the design was so huge and it would not have been cost effective and so on. The engineers told me that they had reached the stage of putting a foundation, Tim Goopeesingh. And I said, well, what is the value of the work done? They said approximately $7.2 million. They said, but sir, the contractor, who I later learned is a golfing buddy and partner and friend and neighbor to Keith Christopher Rowley in Inez Gate in Tobago, SRI, the contractor was requesting $35 million. I told the engineers again, what is the value you see? Go and analyze. They came up to the highest figure being 7.2 million. I said, well, you know the law. You are only justified to pay 7.2 million, regardless of what the contractor feels or claims that he should be paid. The contractor refused to do any more work, so that project got thwarted for 4 years and 8 months. Then, when Rowley came into government on the lies of Emailgate and the mass media, the first thing Keith Rowley did, Tim Goopeesingh, was to move that stadium from the sport company to Udicott and Noel Garcia, his Las Alturas friend. And Noel Garcia, without any tender, just authorized payment and movement forward to SRI. So I asked Rowley and I asked Noel Garcia what amount was paid for that initial foundation that SRI and the company was claiming 35 million and the engineers had only put a value of 7 million. They're now talking about another phase with a pool and this and that without tender. I bet you it's SRI. This is the procurement of the PNM. This is the corruption of the PNM. They come to the Parliament and the Senate to gut procurement, and the newspapers and the country says, okay, they want to legalize thieving, go ahead.
Right, see, this is the reason They don't want the procurement because they continue the massive corruption over a period of time. So for 7 years now, you remember at the end of 2010, we had the procurement legislation passed. It's just the regulations had to be put into place. 7 years now, they have not put the regulations into place. Some they have done, and they have now found other reasons why the procurement legislation must not be introduced. Because they're going ahead, as I said, I saw here between 2015 and 2020 another $25 billion in corruption. And beside the Cabo Star, the Ocean Flower, the sporting facility, the repairs to TNT Spirit, they spend $60 million. And then
but Tim, Keith Rowley said the Cabo Star, I call the Cabo Star, and the Ocean Stem. Keith Rowley said Bridgman's was crooked money.
That's right.
But 7 years on, the crooked money has reached upwards of 125 million to the Cabo Star, and every day that it sails is another 22,500 US of crooked money. Where the clink, where the DCP Jacob, where the toe jam, where the investigation, where is the law?
Right. The other areas that I saw here, 1.2 billion for the hostile and INCAT. Have we had any explanation of that whatsoever? Another major debacle that this country must remember is the Malcolm Jones affair of $18 billion between 2007 to 2010 that the country still continues to suffer for. We still have to pay on a loan of 950 million US every night at 9.5%.
And they have not paid off that bullet payment
That's
yet,
right.
so they've just extended the interest, and the amount of 850 to 950 million US still has to be paid by the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
At 9.5% for 10 years, that's 95% of $950 million US. So that's another $900 million that the country, US, that the country has had to pay, equivalent to about $6.3 million. So this Malcolm Jones affair cost this country over $18 billion. Then what we hear about the Prime Minister's residence of $18 million, Stuart Young, brother, the finance deals of over $4 billion, which you have been speaking about. Then there's the Chinese group, an international engineering company.
Pause there, Tim. Go through that one in detail, because Tim Goopeesingh, when that issue came out, I believe it was in the Express, Rowley said, well, I don't know anything about that. We'll go to cabinet and check it out. But truth be told, which was not told by the mass media in any front page, that Keith Christopher Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, was the substantive Minister of Housing at the time that that note went to cabinet. Tim Goopeesingh is a former minister. I am a former minister. A note cannot reach to the cabinet unless the red file is signed by the substantive minister, which in this case was Keith Rowley, who therefore lied, because it was him. He read the note, he vetted it, he did the draft note, he signed the red file, and it went to cabinet. He chaired the cabinet and approved the most corrupt contract in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And where the clink.
Yeah, that's the China Jezuba Group International Engineering Company.
Correct.
With HDC.
And all of them was in a picture signing up with Newman George and Marlene McDonald and Faris Al-Rawi and Paula Gopi-Schoon signing that contract. The most corrupt contract in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, brought to the cabinet by Keith Christopher Rowley, Mr. Landate, Mr. Renaissance, Mr. Email Gate, Tim.
Let's even go back to 2002, from since the Manning administration came into office. You remember the hospital, the Tobago hospital was scheduled under Mr. Pandey to cost 120 million. Under PNM's administration, that hospital cost went up to $1.2 billion. From 120 million to $1.2 billion. And it was the United National Congress administration of 2010 to 2015 had to complete the hospital. That's just another example. Then the Prime Minister's diplomatic
But don't rush that example there, you know, Tim. Because part and parcel of that initial Scarborough hospital, they had gravel and material that mysteriously rolled from by a public project to a project close to somebody called Keith Rowley.
Gravel travel.
It just the gravel traveled. You understand?
Gravel
and
travel.
they have promoted this gravel traveler into Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and then wonder why everything has gone awry.
Let me just remind the population of the $2 billion summit in 2009.
Oh yes.
$2 billion.
You know, I forget that.
The country has forgotten that. We spent $2 billion on the summit, and what has happened as a result of that? You remember Mr. Manning said that, God bless his soul, that he wants to get that done. But we must not forget that the diplomatic center, which cost $240 million, when he was doing it was an extension for the lady, his friend, Mrs. Pierre, building her church as an extension of the diplomatic center. And when he was caught with it, and when Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar got the knowledge of it, and she filed a motion of no confidence on Patrick Manning, he knew he was going to be flawed. There were 4 pieces of massive corruption which Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar had filed a motion of no confidence against him in 2010. And part of that was the diplomatic center fraud of about $70-something million attached to the diplomatic center, but building the church for the lady. And he realized that he's going to be defeated, so he called the general elections. And he knew that there were 5 or 6 of his own people who were not going to support him. So that's why he called it. And included on that was Keith Rowley and Fitzgerald Hines and those people. So that's when Patrick Manning lost the election in 2010 because of the corruption issues. Then the rapid rail, we must not forget that Imbert, the Minister of Finance now, has cost this country $576 million in a rapid rail feasibility project. And every year this country for the last 10 years had been paying something like between $35 to $45 million per year from the funding of the state to pay out for this feasibility project. The 30 million bamboo network scandal, then the former PNM treasurer.
But pause there. Because you say bamboo network scandal, people may not remember. $32 million, people may not remember. That was Ken Julian, Rowley's czar, the PNM czar. He was told in writing by the then minister in the Ministry of Finance, Christine Sahadio, that he is not to invest in bamboo networks, that the ministry had done its due diligence and it was too high a risk. He ignored the instruction of the Ministry of Finance, took your taxpayers' money, $32 million, and it was thrown away and gotten rid of. When PNM came in with Keith Rowley and the Attorney General Johnny Sukaran and Small Pin in the office of the Attorney General, they stopped 2 cases that had been put on by Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Anand Ramlogan and the People Partnership government to recoup money. They took Malcolm Jones out of court with a half-a-page unsolicited advice from a man who had given a 22-page advice to say that the case was solid, who is now a witness against UNC ministers, who is now has in his hand an indemnity signed and negotiated by Attorney General on a criminal matter. Clink, clink, no laws. This same man was the man who enabled the Al-Rawi, Johnny Sukaran and Rowley to take Malcolm Jones out of court, to discontinue that, and the Ken Julian. So much so that we, Trinidad and Tobago, became the laughing stock at the Privy Council for such political interference and injustice.
You reminded me, Anil, about the issue, as you mentioned, Faris. You remember when Faris came in, he said that United National Congress between 2010 and 2015 spent almost $1 billion on legal fees. And what came out recently? It showed that, and we had recouped almost $2 billion by virtue of winning the cases before the Privy Council. So even though that the United National Congress government had spent X amount of money in legal fees, we recoup almost $2 billion from the
How much
work
have
that
they
we had,
recouped?
from the
And you
success.
see what he had done to him. He was using the overall government,
Right.
meaning the Ministry of the Attorney General,
Yes.
all the ministries, all the statutory authorities, all the special purpose companies, all of the government state agencies. He was saying that was the legal bills paid for by the UNC and the partnership. But then he was just using it to compare to what his little ministry, the Attorney General, did, because he's a dishonest clown. And when they went, Ravi Balgobin Maharaj and Anand Ramlogan went for the FOIA now and got the information. He, Faris Aladdin's Johnny Sukaran, has spent as the PNM more than the partnership spent, and he has lost total and has not recouped anything and has just lost case after case.
Yeah, over $1 billion has been spent. It was all over in the media recently. Well, the most important, one of the most important things we must never forget is the reign of Calder Hart during the Manning's administration of 2003 to 2010, when he was the god. And Calder Hart has never come back to Trinidad to face what would be inquiries into his conduct. So billions of dollars were spent. I have been around a long time, and I've been around in the politics for about 28 years, but I can remember from, as I said, PNM invented corruption, they perfected corruption, they masterminded corruption. From since the days of former Prime Minister Eric Williams, people will remember, the young ones in Trinidad and Tobago now will not have a clue about what we are saying. But there was a lock-join scandal when they started to lay the pipes around in Port of Spain.
Go through detail for them, let them learn and listen.
So millions of dollars were misspent in trying to lay pipes around in Port of Spain to bring the sewer system into Port of Spain under the first PNM administration. Then there was the BWIA scandal, where members of the PNM government leased from international corporations airlines, and then they subleased to BWIA, making profits for themselves. So that was a DC-9 scandal, and they could go back into the late 60s and early 70s.
And you could go to the Tesoro scandal.
Then they went to the Tesoro
Financial
scandal.
Complex, Mount
Yes.
Hope
And
scandal,
then-
Caroni Racing Complex.
Anil, you know it. The Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex was given to a French company called Soditech. I was there in 1981 as a doctor at the Women's Hospital. And that was given for $500 million. It cost this country $1.2 billion. Then you go down to the Caroni Racing Complex as another scandal. And
Project Pride.
Yeah,
And then you come to
then-
Taruba Stadium where cricket is playing
But
right now.
I want to go before that.
Before that.
You had the Twin Towers, cost overrun on the Twin Towers.
Yes, financial.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. You had cost overrun on the financial complex, close to about $400 million. Not the Chief Hall of Justice.
The Hall of Justice.
Hall of Justice. Then, from those, the waterfront project, which Mr. Manning started. That was supposed to cost $2.4 billion total. That waterfront project has ended costing this country about $4.4 billion, twice the amount of money. Every 6 months, this country pays almost $276 million every 6 months to pay for that waterfront project. And so what has it done for the country? The PNM talk big about they have the judiciary inside the waterfront complex and so on. But that has cost this country $4.4 billion, twice the overrun, twice the original cost. Then Napa and Sapa. Napa and Sapa was supposed to cost $100 million each US. That's close to about 1.4. It ended up costing about $2.8 billion, the Napa and Sapa, twice the cost. So wherever PNM is, there's widespread corruption, massive cost overrun, and it is happening now in 2020 to 222. And I showed you just some of the areas in 215 to 220. Then I take you back to 203 to 210. I don't know if you remember this, Anil, there was a TN-Tech street lighting scandal that arose on that time.
Not only that, the TN-Tech at that time, they had the chairman was also the chairman of the pension committee, the investment committee, every committee, and his hardware, Rupnarayan hardware, you got about $59 million in work or supplying of fixtures, fittings, and so on to TNTech without tender, and that was PNM. So let me tell you something, when your democracy is lost, when in Marlborough House back in 1962, the colonial masters said no, PNM, no, Dr. Williams, we will not allow you to put political influence in the TTPS. They knew what they were talking about. But flash forward 60 years, and Keith Christopher Rowley went to the president to influence the president to thwart a merit list, because as he has confessed, he lost confidence in the sitting commissioner of police. He thwarted that, thwarted the police service commission. The president allowed the list to be removed and withdrawn, breaching the law, breaching the constitution, and misbehaving in public office to put a yes man, to put a PNM man, to put a Toja man. And y'all are sitting there thinking it's funny. It might be David Lee now, but it might be you tomorrow, because DCP Jacob is taking instructions and he is bringing the TTPS into disrepute. So if you're charging, as Kamla Prasad has always said, whoever, you play the fiddle, you will dance to the tune. If you do something wrong, face the consequences, no problem. UNC is a party of law-abiding people who subscribe to the rule of law. But therefore, I also ask those in charge of the independent police and the DPP, what about you lock up Bastio Pandey because he failed to know that his wife had an account? Rowley knew. He boasted, he negotiated, he bought a house, he failed to put it on his form. Where's the charge? What's the law? Is there one law for Bastio Pandey and another law for Rowley? Rowley put on his form A that the price he paid was 1.2 million. Yes, but he also put on his form that the value was 1.2 million. That is a blatant lie, because he paid 33,600 in stamp duty, which equates to a value at the time of 1.68 million. He signed that declaration. That is a crime. He also did not declare the 468,000 benefit that he got from the contractor who he bought the house from. That is a crime. Is there one law for Rowley and one for Pandey? Ask yourself if you're proud of your democracy.
I remember in the 1980s when the Prime Minister had a veto power of who to appoint as Commissioner of Police. And that veto power allowed the Prime Minister then to say, I don't want this person to be Commissioner. And Mr. Pandey, and with Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa and one other person from the United National Congress, had a meeting, and a joint consultative meeting with the Prime Minister then, Mr. Manning. And they ensured that that veto power that the Prime Minister had in terms of deciding who would be the Commissioner of Police was removed completely. So I can't understand how Rowley continues to be able to say, well, look, I don't want this commissioner, I don't want this commissioner, because he gets himself involved with the independent institutions of this country, the Police Service Commission. And the Police Service Commission and the Judicial and Legal Service Commission are the commissions that have been fought for by our forefathers to protect protect the sanctity and the citizens' rights. And now both are being destroyed. The Police Service Commission, so we have a Commissioner of Police who the Prime Minister wants, and who, as has been reported, acts on the advice. And you saw it glaring in a press interview where a PNM minister was there sitting with the Commissioner of Police and basically almost directing the Commissioner of Police. So what is happening today has been happening a long while now, but becoming more exaggerated.
Tim, talk to the people as we wrap up. There is a pure dictatorship. Our democracy is dead. people have to understand that this is very dangerous. You have independent institutions to have big checks and balances. They are thwarting procurement legislation. The procurement regulator is collecting a salary 3 years now and has no work to do. They are thwarting and influencing and attacking the Integrity Commission. The mass media is printing nonsense and upholding Rowley's lack of corporate governance is blatant corruption. The police service now, since August 21st, August 11, 2021, has been compromised. Political influence is the norm. The country is in the throes of a dictatorship and nothing is working, Tim. Give the people some hope. Give them some sort of sense that Trinidad and Tobago is not lost forever.
Anil, you have summarized it wonderfully and very succinctly. But we want to tell this population that as a loyal opposition and as a fighting opposition and a strong opposition led by Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar and with a number of our colleagues, we will continue to fight to protect your rights as citizens of this country. We will continue to fight that the just due is given to you, that you will have your employment in a manner that is befitting your merit, and that people must not rob you of what is just due to you as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. We know that you're under pressure. You cannot eat properly. You cannot get a job. 150,000 of you have lost your jobs. You are calling for removal of the government. We asked Rowley to call elections so that the people will tell you, Rowley, whether they want you or they don't want you. We know that they don't want you. Stop subjugating the population to this dictatorship and autocracy. You are a dictator, and as Wade Mark says all the time, this is Tuntun Makut in Trinidad. This is worse than what happened in Zimbabwe. This is worse than what happened in Haiti. And I want the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, I have become so emotional because we cannot allow this to continue in Trinidad. Citizens, band yourself together. Don't allow Rowley to do what he is doing. Don't allow the PNM to do what they are doing. And stand up for your rights. Speak out. Don't be silent. And we are there with you to give you all the frontline support that you need. We are fighting for you. We will continue to fight until this despot PNM government is removed once and for all, and there shall be never a PNM government in this country again to rule the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Good night.